My story isn't just about a single incident, it's about years of a toxic relationship that finally imploded in the most catastrophic way imaginable. And I'm wondering if my actions, in that initial moment of crisis, pushed things over the edge, making me the asshole. Let me set the scene. I'm Emily, 31F. For 6 long years, I was married to Mark, 34M. From the outside, we probably looked like a perfectly normal couple. But behind closed doors, our marriage was a slow, agonizing death by 1,000 cuts. Mark had a sense of humor that was, in reality, a thinly veiled excuse for emotional abuse. He specialized in what he called jokes, barbed comments, often delivered with a smirk, that would chip away at my self-esteem, my intelligence, my very worth. If I got a promotion, he'd joke that I probably just flirted my way up. If I tried a new recipe, he'd ask if I forgot the actual ingredients this time. It was relentless, and it wore me down. The most painful target of his jokes was my struggles with pregnancy. Before my current pregnancy, Liam and I had suffered 2 miscarriages. Each one was devastating, a crushing blow to my spirit and my hope for a family. Mark, instead of being supportive, found ways to weaponize my grief. After the first miscarriage, he'd joke about my fragile uterus or how I couldn't even do the one thing a woman is supposed to do right. I begged him to stop, told him how much it hurt, but he'd just roll his eyes and say I was too sensitive and needed to learn to take a joke. He'd even tell our close friends, "Emily's so hormonal after losing the baby, you can't even say anything to her without her crying." It isolated me, making me feel like my grief was an inconvenience, a burden. Despite everything, I desperately wanted to be a mother. And against all odds, after years of trying, hoping, and fearing, I became pregnant again. It was early, terrifyingly early, but this time felt different. My family was cautiously optimistic. My parents, who had seen me through the heartache of the previous losses, were thrilled. My sister, Clara, was already knitting baby blankets. We decided to have a small family barbecue to celebrate this fragile, precious new life that was growing inside me. It was meant to be a moment of hope, a turning point. The barbecue was at my parents' house. The sun was shining, the grill was fired up, and for a little while, I actually felt a flicker of the joy I was supposed to be experiencing. Mark was there, of course. He'd been drinking since before noon, which always made his jokes sharper, his cruelty less contained. The initial comments were subtle, easily brushed off by most. When I reached for a burger, he chuckled, "Careful, Em, don't want to get too big, huh? Already carrying enough weight with that bun in the oven." A few uncomfortable laughs from family members, a dismissive wave from me. I was used to it. But as the afternoon wore on, and the alcohol flowed, Mark's comments grew more pointed, more vicious. He started talking about pregnancy troubles and women's bodies. "Some women just aren't built for it, you know," he said loudly, supposedly to his cousin, but his eyes were fixed on me. Always having problems. Dropping the ball. My heart pounded. I tried to ignore him, chatting with my aunt about baby names, but I could feel his gaze, feel the toxic energy radiating from him. Then he escalated it. He turned to me, a sly, drunken grin on his face. "So, Em," he slurred, "you sure this one's gonna stick? 3rd time's the charm, right? Unless, of course, it's not even ours, then who knows whose bad luck it is." He punctuated this with a crude wink. That was it. My breath hitched. My entire body went cold. The air left my lungs. The jokes about my miscarriages had always been unbearable, but this? This was a direct, public accusation that I was not only promiscuous but also carrying another man's child. It was a complete violation, a cruel twist of the knife, designed to humiliate me completely. I looked around, seeing the shocked, uncomfortable faces of my family. My parents looked horrified, but no one spoke up. They never did, not really. They'd just look away, pretend it wasn't happening. In that moment, something inside me snapped. All the years of suppressed rage, of swallowed tears, of being the target of his calculated cruelty, it all converged into a single, burning point of defiance. He wanted a reaction? He wanted to hurt me? Fine. I would give him the truth, raw and ugly, exactly what he deserved. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the patio. Everyone looked at me, their faces etched with nervous anticipation. Mark, still smirking, raised an eyebrow, probably expecting me to break down, to cry, to run away. I looked him straight in the eye. My voice was surprisingly clear, steady, cutting through the stunned silence like a bell. "You want to know the truth, Mark?" I said, each word deliberate. "You're absolutely right. This baby isn't yours." A collective gasp went through the crowd. Mark's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of utter shock. His face drained of color. I continued, my voice gaining strength. "I've been having an affair for the past 8 months. With someone who actually treats me like a human being. Someone who doesn't joke about my pain. Someone who loves me and respects me, even when I'm at my weakest." The silence was deafening. My parents looked like they'd been hit by a truck. My aunt dropped the serving spoon she was holding. Mark just stared at me, his mouth slightly agape, trying to process what I had just said. "So yes, Mark," I concluded, "you're right. This baby isn't yours." And with that, I turned on my heel, walked past the frozen faces of my family, out the gate, and didn't look back. I called a taxi from the end of the street and went straight to my sister Clara's place. The immediate aftermath was a blur. When I arrived at Clara's, I broke down. Not just from the shock and the courage it took to say what I did, but from the raw, years-long pain finally erupting. Clara, my amazing, supportive sister, not to be confused with the other Clara in my previous AITA post if you've seen it, just held me, let me cry, and didn't ask a single question until I was ready to talk. Later that evening, my phone blew up with calls and texts from my parents. They were devastated, confused, angry. They wanted to know if it was true. I told them yes, it was. I told them about Ben, the man I'd been seeing, someone kind, gentle, who had helped me remember what it felt like to be valued. They were upset about the affair, of course, but after hearing the full, unvarnished truth about Mark's years of abuse and that final, despicable comment, they started to understand why I had done what I did. Mark, meanwhile, was predictably spiraling. He moved in with his brother, Liam, not my husband, Liam, but his brother, Liam. He started calling and texting me incessantly, begging, pleading, promising to change. He tried to convince Liam that I was just angry and making things up to hurt him and that I'd come back eventually. Liam, who had witnessed Mark's behavior over the years, seemed skeptical but still tried to mediate. I didn't engage. I went home the next day with Clara and Liam, my husband, and changed the locks. I blocked Mark's number on my phone and all social media. I wanted him out of my life, completely. As weeks turned into months, the updates about Mark were grim. He didn't just spiral, he plummeted. He started drinking heavily, even more than before, often blacking out. He lost his job, developed a serious gambling problem, blowing through his savings and his brother's patience. His personality morphed from emotionally abusive to genuinely aggressive and violent. He got into fights at bars, eventually leading to an incident where he assaulted someone and was arrested. He was released on bail, but the writing was on the wall. I tried to keep my distance from all the drama, focusing on my pregnancy and creating a safe space for myself and my baby. Ben was amazing through it all, a quiet, steady presence. He was scared, of course, but incredibly supportive. We both knew the relationship with Mark was over, but the legalities of divorce, especially with a baby on the way, were daunting. Then came the day I gave birth. My daughter, Clara, entered the world, healthy, beautiful, and the absolute light of my life. The moment I held her, all the pain, all the fear, all the years of struggle felt worth it. Ben was there, beaming, holding my hand, sharing this incredible, sacred moment. We were in the hospital, recovering, enjoying those first precious hours with our newborn. My parents and my sister Clara had visited, gushing over baby Clara. Everything felt calm, peaceful, finally. I was dozing, baby Clara sleeping in her bassinet next to my bed, when I heard a soft knock on the door. I assumed it was a nurse. "Come in," I mumbled, half asleep. The door opened, and a shadow fell across the room. I blinked, trying to clear my vision, and then my blood ran cold. Standing there, silhouetted against the hallway light, was Mark. He looked haggard, his eyes bloodshot, a desperate, wild look in them. "Emily," he whispered, his voice raspy. "I need to see my baby." My heart slammed against my ribs. How did he get in? I felt a wave of icy terror wash over me. "Mark, you need to leave. You're not supposed to be here." He ignored me, his eyes fixed on the bassinet. He took a slow, deliberate step into the room. She's mine, Emily. You can't keep her from me. She's not yours, Mark, I said, my voice shaking, trying to sound stronger than I felt. And you have no right to be here. Get out. He took another step, closer to the bassinet. I just want to hold her. I just want to take her home. We can be a family, Em. We can fix this. No, I pleaded, pushing myself up in the bed. Mark, stop. Just stop. If you don't leave, I'm calling security. He was inches from the bassinet now. He reached down, slowly, deliberately. My mind screamed. This wasn't just Mark being angry or drunk. This was terrifying. This was deranged. He was going to take my baby. Don't you dare touch her. I yelled, throwing off my blanket, swinging my legs out of bed. My body was still recovering from childbirth, but a primal, protective rage surged through me. He ignored me. His hand was on the bassinet, starting to lift her. We're going home, baby, he muttered to the newborn. I screamed. Not a polite scream, but a guttural, terrified shriek that echoed through the hospital hallway. Help! He's kidnapping my baby. Help me! Almost immediately, 2 nurses burst into the room, alerted by my screams. They saw Mark, wild-eyed, with his hands on the bassinet. Sir, what are you doing here? One of them demanded, stepping between him and Clara. You need to leave immediately. Mark snarled, this is my wife. This is my baby. You can't stop me. He tried to push past the nurses, but they stood their ground, blocking his path. One nurse activated her panic button. Within seconds, security guards, then hospital police, swarmed the room. Mark resisted, yelling, struggling, still claiming Clara was his. But he was quickly subdued and arrested. They found out he had snuck into the hospital by posing as a relative, using an old family photo to get past the initial security check. He was charged with attempted kidnapping, trespassing, and harassment. The legal process was a living nightmare. Mark continued to blame me for everything. During his sentencing, he stood there, defiant, telling the judge that I had betrayed him, stolen his child, and driven him to desperation. He showed absolutely no remorse for his actions, not for the affair, not for the abuse, and certainly not for trying to abduct our newborn. The judge, however, saw through it. He emphasized the seriousness of Mark's escalating harassment, his clear intent to harm, and the very real danger he posed to both me and baby Clara. He condemned Mark's lack of accountability. Mark was sentenced to 18 months in prison. It felt like a small mercy for the terror he had inflicted, but also a huge step towards safety. In the aftermath, the choice was clear. There was no way I could stay in the same city as Mark. Even with him in prison, the fear lingered. I needed a fresh start, far away from him and the painful memories. Ben, incredible man that he is, agreed to move with me. My parents and sister Clara helped me pack. I sold the house I had shared with Mark, packed up my life, and with my tiny, precious daughter, moved to a new state. It's been 6 months since we moved, and about 9 months since the hospital incident. Mark is still in prison. We have a permanent restraining order against him for when he gets out. Life here is quiet, peaceful. Ben is an amazing partner and father to Clara. He loves her unconditionally, and it's healing to see such genuine, unwavering love after years of emotional torment. I'm rebuilding, slowly. I have a new job, new friends, and a growing sense of safety. Baby Clara is thriving. But the past still casts a long shadow. My parents are still dealing with the fallout with Mark's family, who mostly blame me for ruining David. Yes, Mark's family is still convinced I'm the villain. And sometimes, in the quiet moments, I wonder if the dramatic public revelation at the barbecue, born out of my own raw pain and anger, was the right choice. Could I have handled it more privately, perhaps avoiding the escalating violence and the eventual kidnapping attempt? Did I provoke him? Did I push him into that dark hole? Or was he always going to go there, regardless of my actions? I know I had the right to speak my truth. I know I had the right to protect my baby. But I can't shake the feeling that my actions set off a chain reaction that completely destroyed not just my marriage, but the entire fabric of our extended families.